in war-torn Casablanca and ancient Rome alike. Neutrality promised safety, but history reveals how waiting, corruption, and quiet choices turned survival into the most dangerous gamble of all. Casablanca opens in a city caught between empires. Refugees flood the streets. Power changes daily. Survival depends on silence. Rick Blaine survives because he claims neutrality. I stick my neck out for nobody. That sentence could have been spoken in ancient Rome, before Rome became an empire. It's elite class bankers, grain merchants, tax collectors claimed the same position. They were not politicians, not generals, just businessmen. They supplied whoever held power, convinced neutrality meant safety, like Rick Escaf, Americain. Rome's financial system welcomed everyone. Senators drank alongside rivals. Generals borrowed from men who would later fund their enemies. Grain ships fed both sides of civil wars. Profit had no loyalty, but neutrality is never passive. It is influence without accountability. Rick profits from desperation. Exit visas pass quietly across tables. Every drink sold carries the weight of fear. Rome's elites did the same. They controlled food, loans, and logistics, the invisible arteries of power. Rome's grain supply was its lifeline. Whoever controlled it controlled the city. Merchants claimed they were above politics, yet shortages always seemed to favor the right people. Prices rose conveniently. Credit vanished selectively. In Casablanca, Rick pretends not to notice who waits too long for visas. In Rome, elites pretended not to notice who starved. Both cities lived under an illusion that staying neutral meant staying clean. History disagrees. When Caesar and Pompey moved towards civil war, Rome's neutral financiers were forced to choose. Grain shipments became weapons. Loans became leverage. Neutrality collapsed overnight. Casablanca foreshadows this truth. Rick S. Cafe is only neutral until resistance walks through the door. War does not respect safe spaces. Rome learned this late. Casablanca shows it early. Neutrality feels powerful until power demands allegiance. In Casablanca, corruption does not hide in shadows. It smiles. It jokes. It pours another drink. Captain Renault represents a system that works, not because it is honest, but because everyone understands how dishonesty functions. Bribes are expected. Rules are flexible. Morality is negotiable. Ancient Rome mastered this long before Casablanca was imagined. Roman corruption was not accidental. It was institutional. Governors bought their positions. Tax collectors paid upfront for the right to extract revenue from provinces. Abuse was not a flaw, it was part of the business model. Rome told itself the same lie. Rick tells himself in his cafe, this is just how things work. As long as the trains ran, the grain arrived, and order was maintained. Corruption was tolerated. Justice became secondary to stability. Casablanca exposes this logic perfectly. Renault closes his eyes when it benefits him. He opens them when power demands it. His loyalty shifts with the wind, just like Rome's officials who served the Republic one day and bowed to emperors the next. But corruption always has a price. In Rome, corruption hollowed institutions from the inside. Laws still existed, but enforcement depended on influence. Courts functioned, but verdicts were purchased. The Republic looked intact, yet its foundations were rotten. Casablanca's world works the same way. Refugees line up, not for justice, but for permission. Exit visas become currency. Paper becomes destiny. Rome understood this centuries earlier. Citizenship, travel permits, trade, license these were Rome's real weapons. They controlled movement, opportunity, and survival. The empire learned that controlling access was more powerful than controlling armies. Rick Blaine unknowingly plays the role of a Roman governor. He controls exit visas. He controls time. He controls hope. Every delay is leverage. Every refusal is a sentence. He may not carry a sword, but his desk decides lives. Rome perfected this quiet control. Provinces that cooperated received privileges. Those that resisted were isolated economically long before legions arrived. Paperwork softened resistance. Bureaucracy replaced violence. Casablanca shows this process in miniature. The cafe is neutral, but neutrality benefits those already in power. Refugees wait. Officials negotiate. The system feeds on patience. Rome's elites waited, too. They waited as generals gained loyalty from soldiers instead of the state. They waited as wealth concentrated into fewer hands. They waited as laws bent, then broke. Waiting felt safe. Then Caesar crossed the Rubicon. That moment shattered Rome's illusion. Neutrality vanished overnight. Those who waited discovered that power had already chosen sides without them. Casablanca builds toward the same reckoning. Victor Laszlo represents resistance, integrity, and sacrifice. He is everything Rome's republic once claimed to be and everything it failed to defend. Rick sees in Laszlo the choice Rome avoided. Support resistance and lose comfort. Or protect comfort and lose everything else. Rome consistently chose comfort. Senators fled instead of confronting tyranny. Financiers funded whoever won. Stability became more important than principle. Casablanca asks a brutal question Rome never answered in time. When corruption keeps the system running, is it still worth saving? Rome said yes until the system belonged to one man. Casablanca refuses to let Rick escape that answer. The cost of waiting grows heavier with every scene. Every smile hides fear. Every deal deepens moral debt. History shows that corruption does not destroy societies. Suddenly, it anesthetizes them. People adapt. They accept less. They expect nothing. By the time collapse arrives, it feels inevitable. Rome did not fall in a single year. It eroded while everyone waited for a better moment. Casablanca reminds us that such moments never come on their own. They must be chosen. When neutrality collapses, every system built on neutrality eventually meets a moment it cannot ignore. In Casablanca. That moment arrives quietly. No announcement. No explosion. Just a realization. Rick's cafe is no longer outside the war. It never truly was. Ancient Rome faced the same awakening. For decades, Rome's elites believed they could outlast chaos by staying flexible. If one general rose, they adapted. If another fell, they adjusted. Neutrality was survival strategy. Morality was optional. But neutrality only works while power is undecided. Once power consolidates, neutrality becomes a threat. In Rome, Julius Caesar's rise exposed this truth. His victories did not just defeat enemies, they eliminated ambiguity. Senators who once claimed neutrality were suddenly asked a simple question: loyalty or removal? There was no third option. Casablanca mirrors this collapse of the middle ground. When Rick holds the exit visas, neutrality becomes impossible. Every choice now benefits one side. Every delay harms another. The cafe stops being a shelter and becomes a battleground of consequence. Rome's financial class faced the same transformation. Grain merchants who once sold to everyone were now expected to feed Caesar's legions first. Bankers who once lent freely were pressured to fund imperial ambitions. Neutral money no longer existed, only obedient money. Those who resisted quietly disappeared from influence. Rome did not purge loudly. It absorbed, replaced, and isolated. Casablanca shows this mechanism through bureaucracy. Paperwork replaces violence. Permissions replace chains. You don't arrest enemies who deny them movement. Rome perfected this strategy. Citizenship became conditional. Travel required approval. Economic life depended on imperial favor. Control became administrative. Rick's visas function exactly the same way. They are not weapons, but they determine who survives the war. The cafe's walls cannot stop history from entering. Neutrality collapses not with noise, but with paperwork. Rome collapsed its neutrality the same way. Once Augustus took power, the Republic still existed, on paper. Offices remained, laws were quoted, but choice was gone. Compliance replaced debate. This is how empires end. Freedoms without appearing there. Casablanca refuses to romanticize this process. Rick understands that refusing to choose is no longer an option. Neutrality has turned into complicity. Rome's elites rarely reached that realization in time. They told themselves the empire was inevitable, that resistance would only cause suffering, that order, even unjust, was better than chaos. History records the cost of that belief. Innovation slowed. Political courage vanished. Citizens became subjects. Rome gained stability, but lost its soul. Casablanca offers a different ending. Rick chooses loss now to prevent greater loss later. He sacrifices personal desire to preserve meaning. He accepts that neutrality protected him only until the moment it didn't. Rome avoided that sacrifice. Instead, it accepted empire as the price of peace. That decision reshaped the world for centuries. Empires are not built only by conquerors. They are enabled by those who wait too long to choose. Casablanca makes this lesson intimate. Rome makes it historical. Both warn us of the same danger. Systems that reward silence eventually punish it. Neutrality feels safe until power demands allegiance. And when that moment comes, the cost of waiting is always higher than the cost of choosing earlier.